Jæja, eigum við að halda áfram. Allir búin að fá sér kaffi og hressingu. Það hún Barbro Köhler Krantz sem sérfræðingur hjá sænska vinnueftirlitinu sem ætlar að fara með smá erindi. Hún efnaverkfræðingur að mennt og hefur starfað hjá sænska vinnueftirlitinu í 25 ár. Síðustu ár hefur hún starfað sem aðal sérfræðingur í alþjóðadeild stofnunarinnar. Barbro flytur framlag sitt á ensku og nefnir það Health and Safety in Sweden, Experiences and Main Challenges. Gjörðu svo vel. Gjörðu svo vel.
Thank you for the invitation. I didn't understand so much of the presentation. It's interesting to be here and try to, but this is me. I'm a senior analyst at the International Affairs Department at the Swedish Work Environment Authority. And from hearing Paul and from the Norwegian side of the things, I'm going to talk to you a little bit from the angle of the authority where I work. The Swedish Work Environment Authority, it's also called Svea for short. It's a government agency that works on behalf of the government and falls under the Ministry of Employment. There are about 250 authorities in Sweden, and ours is middle-sized. We are about 600 persons. We have an advisory council with members appointed by government linked to us. And we also work very much three-parted. Almost everything we do is including the social partners. And to the management, there is a consultation group of the social partners linked who meets around 6 times a year talking about the bigger things. Our vision is that everyone wants to and can create a good work environment. And the ones that can and will, they are not our focus group. They are the ones that don't want to and are not so good at it. Those are the ones we are trying to find. Our mission is to ensure that a few persons as possible are injured or become ill because of their work. We must also strive for a sustainable working life at all ages so that people do not leave the labor market prematurely, so they can go in pension and be still feeling good. We work for everyone's right to health, safe and stimulating work conditions. We and our work reflect society's diversity. In every workplace, there should be active work environment management where everyone can and wants to contribute. And we cooperate broadly and motivate for increased commitment to work environment issues. Our tools are analysis, regulations, communication, and inspection. So we can promote sustainable working life. This is our organization. We have a headquarter in Stockholm, or head office in Stockholm. And then we have 5 regions where the inspectors are. There are around 300 inspectors out of the 600 staff. And you see they are a little bit around the world, around Sweden. Every year we receive a letter of appropriation from the government who tells us what we should do all the time and also how much money we get. We get it on a one-year basis. And if there are any special tasks for just this year that we have to do. The government is, for the moment, very interested in health and safety, and we have a work environment strategy for modern working life. And our minister is talking a lot about this. There are three main things in the strategy that we should work with at Svea. Zero tolerance for fatal accidents. We don't have so many fatal accidents in Sweden. We have had 38 last year, but there are 38 too much. So zero tolerance is the goal now. A sustainable working life and also organizational and social work environment. Those are the three things that is the core for the moment and what is very, very interesting, and we should work for this for 3 years. Our stakeholders are employees, employers, safety representatives, manufacturers, importers, distributors, and other actors. And everything we do comes out of the Work Environment Act, and it encompasses all employees, pupils in education, and the total defense. It's around 5 million people. In the law, there are writings about cooperation. Of course, it's the employer who has the main responsibility, but also it very much points out the cooperation between the employer and the employees, and the very importance of safety representatives. And the work environment law encompasses all factors: technical, physical, social work, organization, and job content. At Svea, our core activities are inspection, regulation, analysis, and communication. And it all starts out from the Work Environment Act. From that, we write our regulations, and from the regulations, we use them when we inspect. And to be able to do good inspections and good regulations, we have to do good analysis. And when we can't inspect, because we can't inspect everything, we inspect about 4% of the work sites, we have to have good communication and other tools to reach out to everyone. Our work provisions look like this. We have about 70 nowadays, and most of them comes from EU directives. For the moment, we are looking over all of them and try to sort them in another way so they are more user-friendly for the employers. And the main provision that we work with and everyone could work with is the systematic work environment management, and I'll come back to that one. When it comes to analysis and statistics, the Sweas are the ones that are having the statistics for occupational injuries and sicknesses. And we also look at trends and correlations. And we have here also, from the statistics, we do a lot of analysis. Communication I talked about. We have different tools to support stakeholders, checklists, virtual educations, brochures, books. We have a customer service answering questions about environment, Swedish laws. We don't have any research at the authority, but we collect research from the universities in Sweden, and we put it together in knowledge compilations. So we try to spread it that way. And then also the tool inspection. We do random checks to make sure that employers follow the Work Environment Act. and it's a challenge to find the places we should inspect, and we try to have a risk-based inspection. So we try to find the worst places and inspect them, because we believe that the other ones can help themselves. Challenges. Here are some more global challenges. We have the global economy, new forms of employment, more businesses and employees from other countries, long chain of entrepreneurs, a growing service sector, decreasing manufacturing industry. We have many small and medium-sized enterprises, and how do we reach them? We also have an increasing number of accidents, very much in the building industry, and the building industry is increasing very much in Sweden. I think it is in your country too, it looks like that. Psychosocial factors, stress and workload. We have this 24/7 society. You can work all the time, anywhere. And we have the aging manpower. I think also I put down here decreasing organization rate to the trade unions. We see that as a challenge to stop it, because we think that the safety representatives is a very, very important part of the work with what we do. And also occupational health service. In Sweden, it has not been so working so preventive, I think, in the last years as it was supposed to do. It has been more like an ordinary doctor. So I think we are going to do something about that and use the force they have and the skills they have a little bit more. I think that is a challenge. When it comes to Swea's work, the challenge for us is to reach out with this provision, systematic work environment management. It is the base, I believe, for having a good environmental workplace. And it's easy. You can do it for small things and for bigger things. You investigate, you look, what is the risk here? You do a risk assessment, you write it down, you think what you should do about it, you do something about it, and then you look what happened. And then you start again. Where are the risks now? What should we do about them? Do something about them, and then tick the box and go on. And you can do it for big things and for small things. And I think the only thing that you need, or the only thing, here you need your experience and you need your imagination to try to think before, think ahead, think what could possibly go wrong here. And this, if we get this to work, we have a lot of information on our webpage about this. We have some instructions, we have some educations, and if we get this thought, which I think is quite easy if you just start to use it to work on different workplaces, I think we have come a long way. We have a new provision, which is not from a directive, it's a Swedish provision, and it's about the psychosocial work environment, and it is from last year. And it took us many years to get the social partners, both of them, both employers and employees, on the boat, so to speak. But now everybody is happy with this one. So at almost all inspections, we talk about the psychosocial work environment. And mostly are our questions about stress, high workload, and victimization at work, bullying. It's in this one. And then it's important to remember that in Sweden, we never deal with personal matters. We always deal with organizations. So the whole organization is the starting point, and the focus is on the employer's responsibility to investigate, risk assess, and take action according to the regulation about systematic work environment management. So this is very much linked to the systematic work environment system. This you can find on our website. It's translated to English, and we also have a handbook to it now, still just in Swedish, but it's going to come in English also. We work a lot with this, and have done for some years now. Another challenge is that is accessibility. Different people, different prerequisites. The work environment need to function for everyone and make the issue visible. We should have this in our thoughts all the time, and I think Paul talked about this also. And something else we work with is gender equality, that we achieve. We contribute to achievement of gender equality. We work with communication and supervision in order to highlight and raise questions. We have had some projects around this to look at workplaces where there are a lot of women or almost all women, and workplaces with only men, and they have the same employer, and see differences, and there are differences in what they get and how they are treated and how they are organized and things like that. And we are working still with this. So we have always to look at gender nowadays when we inspect and when we do things. Another challenge is the international work. We can't just sit in our different countries and work for ourselves nowadays. We have to look out in the world, especially EU. So we should influence EU work, tell them what we are good at, but also listen, because we're not best at everything. Could be some other countries that we can pick up something from. We work with directives, standardization, and market surveillance together. And we increase knowledge. This is getting more and more important to work international and reach out. And I think here we have, in Nordic cooperation, a lot we can do together. We have a lot of persons coming from other countries nowadays to work. A posted worker is a person who is sent to another country by their employer to work there for a limited time. And we have a register at Svea. And I think we have to be better, and that's a challenge, better to hold this and to use this register, make it better and more useful. Because the big thing for us now is unhealthy competition in working life. Undeclared work, also we call it. We have been commissioned by the government to, between 2015 and 2018, strengthen the supervision on companies that violate work environment legislation in order to gain competitive advantages. These companies create unfair competition at work and risk the health and safety of their employees. An important part of this assignment is to work together with other agencies in order to assess companies that cheat. So we work together with the police, the custom, and some other agencies. Since 2015, we have a collaboration group with representatives from more than 10 agencies in Sweden. And the aim is to conduct comprehensive cooperation by means of new intelligence and the cooperation of activities related to, for example, inspections, regulatory changes and information. And also in the EU, we work together with the other countries on something called undeclared work and the platform for undeclared work. So this is going to be, Paul said also in Norway that you worked 50% of the inspections were on this subject, and I know that you have different offices where you put people together from the different agencies. So you are ahead of us here, but we are coming strong here. And then I would like to end again with that everyone wants to and can create a good work environment. And we have a very good website where you can find a lot of things. It's in Swedish, but then there's a lot of material in English, and I think maybe some in Icelandic too. I didn't check that. And before I say thank you like this, I would like to show you a very short film, because in this work with undeclared work we have some small films on YouTube that shows how, not how a bad workplace should be, but how a good workplace should be. And this little film is with our Director General, and I thought it would be good for you to see it.
Arbetsplatsen. Det är någonting som talar om vilka vi är, möjligen vad vi står för. Tänk till exempel när vi träffar varandra. Det är ju en av de första frågorna vi ställer, vad jobbar du med? Förr i tiden pratade man inte så mycket om arbetsmiljöfrågor. Olyckor och skador var en del av vardagen, och det var bara så. Tyvärr så ser vi ju att det fortfarande finns arbetsplatser som inte håller måttet. I vår verksamhet så möter vi ju arbetsgivare som vi ser att systematiskt och regelbundet bryter mot arbetsmiljöreglerna för att skaffa sig konkurrensfördelar. Och vi ser ju också att det finns arbetsgivare som i vanliga fall sköter arbetsmiljön, men som i en konkurrenssituation kan se sig tvingade att faktiskt tulla på reglerna. Och detta för att till exempel vinna en upphandling. Konsekvensen för de som arbetar i en sån miljö är ju att risken för ohälsa är väldigt stor. Men det innebär ju också stora kostnader för samhället, för de som sköter sig, de konkurreras ju då ut. Och det här är det som vi menar med osund konkurrens. Arbetsmiljöverket har sedan något år tillbaka ett uttryckligt regeringsuppdrag där vi ska lägga extra fokus vid det som kallas för osund konkurrens. Leta upp de arbetsplatser där man inte följer regelverket och där det faktiskt snedvrider konkurrensen. Vi tittar nu särskilt på ett antal branscher. Hotell, restaurang, det är bygg och det är transportnäringen och det är också gröna näringar. Vi kommer att göra det tillsammans med en rad andra myndigheter. Det är ju viktigt för oss att se till att sunda företag, att det är de som får vara de stora aktörerna i samhället. Och den här goda arbetsmiljön kan ju då bli en konkurrensfördel för den som faktiskt sköter sig. Och i slutändan ska vi ju komma ihåg att det är människor vi pratar om. Det är människor som ska skyddas ifrån att bli sjuka, drabbas för olycka. Kärnan i vårt uppdrag är ju att vi ska kunna vara friska, vi ska kunna orka. Vi ska kunna vara med och utveckla både oss själva och arbetslivet. En god och modern arbetsplats ska ju naturligtvis vara där jag trivs, där jag känner utveckling, där jag känner tillit och en god gemenskap. Allt annat känns omodernt.
Do you agree that it feels unmodern, everything else? I'll tell you also that we have a very good, I think, film, and it's in English on our website, which is about the psychosocial and organizational field, and it's called The Challenge. It's a little bit longer, but you can look it up there. It's very good. Does anyone have any questions?
Halldór?
Well, one question, because you come from the international department. As I understand it, for a decade or so, EU was the driving force, really, for improving environmental issues in Europe. But as I understand it, they are now lagging behind and more or less, well, working against improvements in the environment, on the environmental issues. And you mentioned yourself, for example, psychosocial rules that you have now in Sweden are homemade, but not coming from EU. So the question is the European cooperation in this field, is it really lagging behind, or how is the situation in Europe? It's important for us because although we are not members of the EU, more or less all improvements that we have had as regards regulations on environment have come from Europe for the past 10, 15 years.
I don't think that EU is lagging behind. I think that EU is big, the Commission is big, it takes a long time for things to happen. It kind of goes like this. What I said by the EU directives, I mean, we got into EU in 92, I think, and we had already all the directives implemented in our regulation, and I think there are other countries having that too, so it didn't really make any change for us. But what we have done the last 10 years, we have gone from 200 provisions to 70, and we are kind of down to the EU directives and not so many on our own, because we had so many, and it was from another time, I think, when you talked much about not so much about the organizational and psychosocial and the risk assessment. You talked more about how do we do it when we work with children, with hot fluids, with work with wood machines, with steel machines. They were very narrow. And it hasn't been a modern way to see it, so we have changed. So we have these EU directives that are more broader, and to them we write guidelines and checklists, and we work very hard together with the social partners, because they have the knowledge in branches like maybe not our experts have, so we work very hard together with them to get the right tools. So I don't think it's any change that way. When it comes to Iceland, I think you are, even if you're not in EU, you are participating in the organs that you can, and it's not so much difference, I don't think. Maybe you don't get to vote, and you're not in the committee, but I think you are up to date with what's happening, because we are talking to each other in Norden, and I think you are in it. And also, I suppose your social partners are working with the same way. And we have, as I said, we have cooperation with our social partners in all fields, from writing provisions to decisions in the agency, and also before all bigger meetings in EU, we gather together and we talk about, so we know from Sweden what we have different opinions or if we have the same opinion. And this thing about the psychosocial provision, we tried now to get it in the frame directive, but they are not ready to write it in there yet. But we are talking about this all the time. So, I mean, all EU countries know about it. So it's just a question of time, I think.
Any other questions?
Yep.
Thank you, Barbro, for a very interesting lecture. You mentioned the genders, that you were working on that, and I know you have made an inspection campaign some years ago where you had really interesting results. Could you, especially about the managers, different for men and women, do you have anything to say about that?
I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm not so very familiar with it. So I don't. But you can find some material on the web about it, and I think there are other persons better to talk about it. But what they saw was that I tried to say that you had the technical. It was in what do you call this, Komum. Not the state agency, somewhere in the country. They had a technical department where it was all men working, and then they have the women going home to older persons and helping them. So they looked at how they were equipped. The women had one bike from 20 women, and the men had cars, and they had this and this, and they were about 10 for one manager. And the women were 4. They were big. They looked at things like that, and they had done a lot of research from that. But I am not comfortable with talking about the results and what you can draw for results from it. But the important thing is that you maybe. I think for the same job on the same website, maybe there is. The same it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but if you have this kind of, and you have the same employer, it could be a big difference. But then you have to ask someone who is deeper in it than I am.
Maybe it's another conference.
Yes. We had an European conference on this, and so we are talking about it in EU. So.
Any other questions? Yes?
Hi. I'm curious about how you're going to increase the health and safety sector, because you have been doing a lot, and you say it's not strong, and I know on your web page you have a lot of interesting stuff. How will you have any ideas how you will increase the health and safety sector more?
How we will increase the health and safety?
Yeah, because you said it was not strong enough, but you want to increase.
It was a personal. No, I don't have any. I think it's pointing with the whole hand from the minister. That's the only thing, because it's it's managed from the government, and I think they are working on, or they are looking at now the questions and how they should do, and it's going to come something. Then it is my hope that they should work again more preventive, but I'm not sure it's going to be that. But I think they're going to put the light on it in a way that it hasn't been for the last 10 years or something like that. And we are getting a new agency, a small one, but a new in about 7 months or something. And one of their things they're going to have charge of is this. But I don't know what's going to be. I'll be back in a couple of years and I'll tell you.
Fleiri spurningar?
No more questions, but we want to thank you for so much for coming, both of you. I know you want to leave, so we wanted to give you these gifts as a token to our, as a thank you. You, Paul, as well.
Yeah, he doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand?
No.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.